Hey guys, I hope you had a chance to check out our previous episode with Dominique Lemperle. She's a fierce rackets professional, and I really enjoyed addressing some of the hot topics in the rackets world with her. Remember, keep the conversation going. Let's stay solution oriented and open minded. I think we can embrace racket sports, create more opportunities for growth, and also face those issues or growing pains we talked about head first. Sweeping them under the rug is not the way to go. I really love getting to talk with our guests. They're all incredibly passionate people in our industry that I respect, and I'm just so thankful to them for sharing their time, thoughts, and experiences. And I am also so grateful for you who's listening to this. I really hope that this podcast is useful to you, makes you think, and hopefully even inspire you to share your own ideas, thoughts, and experiences with the world. Look, none of us here are experts. Yes, even our most successful guests are no experts. We are all learning along the way. Nobody really has it all figured out. I think just some of us are more willing to put ourselves out there, share what's on our minds, and create content that will entertain and or educate others. Today, we get to hear from Alex Chen, who is a digital content creator in our industry. We talked about being an influencer or content creator on Instagram and how that whole world works. It's really interesting with social media because there's so much opportunity there to grow your audience and your business. If that's something that you enjoy doing, you should definitely be doing that. I think it's just like with anything else. You just have to be committed to it. You have to dedicate time to it. And most importantly, you have to get over yourself. We talked about what I call the cringe factor, which is basically that weird feeling you get when you watch yourself on video or hear your voice in a recording. It's like embarrassment mixed with kill me now. You know what I'm talking about? Well, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, then you should definitely be a content creator. But if you do, there's good news. You should also be doing it, or at least considering it. Alex said you just commit to doing it more and more consistently, and you get better at it as you go. And that's it. It's like Nike said, just do it. Think of all the time you spend on social media consuming other people's content or content from brands, famous people, media outlets, and whatnot. Why not instead spend the time on social media creating something that will help your business? Consider shifting your mindset from consumer to creator. Don't be so attached to the ROI. Just get started, build an audience, learn from it, and go from there. I have no doubt you will enjoy hearing this conversation. Okay, get ready to hear from one of the best out there, only here at Vida Tennis. Enjoy. Welcome to Vida Tennis, the podcast for those of us who eat, sleep, breathe tennis. Today, we welcome the amazing Alex Chen. Alex has been a tennis professional for over 14 years. He's a community engagement leader and digital content creator extraordinaire, serving funny, relatable, and educational content to the tennis community. He is the director of systems operations at the SIDA Foundation and has worked with the USDA Mid-Atlantic section as director of community engagement and recreational programs. He has a master's degree in industrial and organizational psychology from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and he's based in the DC area. As a digital content creator, he collaborates with renowned brands such as Wilson, Amazon, Luxon, Slingerback, Swing Vision, Topspin Pro, you name it. He's obviously a true expert, but most importantly, he's one of the most fun people to follow on Instagram if you're a tennis fan. Welcome, Alex, to Vida Tennis. How are you today?
Hey, thank you for the introduction. I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here.
Of course. And first, can I just say, I think you are brilliant. I have been following you on Instagram for a while, and I just truly love your content. I'm a tennis geek, obviously, and a fan of yours, and just thought it would be fun to talk with you and get to know the man behind the scenes. So if you can just kind of walk us through your tennis background a little bit, how you got into the tennis industry, and when did you realize that this was like a career path for you?
Sure. I guess I'll start with how I got into tennis. And I would say I started tennis relatively late. I started in high school. My school wasn't that great in tennis. So the way I joined was I had a friend that was in my math class. He was like, hey, we need some guys for our team or else we're going to forfeit our first match. And that's how I joined initially. And then I fell in love with it from that point on. In college, I started a club tennis program at my university at UMBC in Maryland. And from there, I got to know the USTA, the local section. And then after college, I joined the USDA, and I guess now the USDA Mid-Atlantic. So I was with them for 13 years, mostly in the community engagement space. And then through that experience, I learned a lot of things in the tennis world. And I also became a certified coach during that time, mostly working with young kids. I work a lot with tennis groups around the area, mostly community-based ones like schools, parks and recs, community tennis associations. I do some work with clubs at the time as well. So yeah, I was doing that for 13 years. And then about 2 years ago, I changed careers to where I am right now. I'm working for a different industry. I work at the Side Out Foundation, as you mentioned, where I still do community engagement with them as well. But on the side, I do a lot of tennis still. Actually, I probably do more nowadays. So as you mentioned, I do social media work, like sponsorship and brand work with different brands. And I continue to be I do some consulting work with other content creators or other smaller brands as well. And also currently serving on the board of one nonprofit, the Toki Catalyst. And I'm also serving now on a USDA National Committee, Emerging Leaders Committee. So that's a little bit of my background.
So how did you realize that tennis was a career path for you? I mean, you played, you fell in love with tennis. At what point were you like, okay, I'm going to stick with this?
It was in college time. I was a psychology major, and then I went to a industrial organizational psychology grad program afterwards. And it was during that time I was applying for a job as well. But it was during my college years when I realized, I didn't realize that people can have a living working in the tennis world. So that's when I started getting in touch with the USTA. I saw what they were doing. I kept in close contact with the people there. I did a lot of volunteering with them. And then over time, I eventually started working with them. So I think they had showed me that, this was a path that I could go in my career. And I'm pretty happy with the decision. I'm glad I made that change, or that route change in my career in the past 13, 14 years or so.
That's great. And so the foundation that you're with now, is that, I think I saw that's a volleyball foundation?
Yes. Right. So it's kind of interesting. So now my community that I work with at my full-time job is with the volleyball community. But the way I work with them is that they are the group that raise funds for our organization that does metastatic breast cancer research. So so that's how it kind of connects. So I have that kind of like that sports background, but also more like the community background. And it's been a very rewarding experience.
How long have you been doing the online content creation, and how did that come about for you?
Oh man, I probably started like way back when the internet was just starting, back when there was like blogs and stuff. So I was like on the different like blogging networks initially. At the time, it wasn't tennis focused, but that was probably, it gave me a lot of good experience to how to write stuff online, how to engage with the community online. And then I would say maybe 2016 was when I started doing like Instagram in particular, where I started posting tennis content. Initially, it was more for myself because I love tennis, so I wanted to just share my love online. And then over time, it started getting bigger and bigger. And I would say probably around 2020, when we had a little bit more time, that's when I started focusing a bit more into some of the possibilities with social media content creation. So I started doing more creative stuff. I started looking into doing partnerships, and it kind of went off from there. So I can expand on that more later, but that's how I kind of got started.
Yeah. So how does all that work? I mean, talk to us like we're the total digital content dummies here. Like, how does that work? Like, are you getting paid for this? Like, is it per views, per followers? Like, how the heck does this whole work?
Okay, sure. I guess for anyone that's interested in getting more into it, there's, I guess, different levels of how you could potentially benefit from creating content and like potentially making some either side cash or even full-time. Like it could become a full-time gig if you really were really focused into it. So initially I started off with more kind of gifted relationships where I saw a company found me and they're like, hey, we would like to send you a gifted product, be like usually like a shirt or something like that. And in return, you make some content that they could use just kind of organically, like they can share it on their channel. That's fine. That was good. Then there's later on, there's more, I guess you can call it like affiliate relationships where you might work with a brand where they say, hey, if you make content and then people end up buying our product through your links or whatnot, you'll get some commission from that, right? So I say a lot of people, that's how they start making money initially. They do commission-based partnerships. Then there is some directly people just directly pay you for making content. So this is like it's marketing essentially. So a lot of time you make content, and then people like brands can pay you for. Let me see, some examples would be like, let's say they want to just pay you to make some type of creative content with their product, and that's fine. They might ask you to make content that only lives on their page. So you're basically just creating content, but they're repurposing it for their usage. They might make it into like an ad, or they might do this other thing called whitelist, where they use your account to push out their ad. Essentially, all those ways you can make money from that. It's a marketing relationship, and then there's various other potential ways that you can make money from brand partnerships. You can have some type of exclusivity clause where you only use their product, and then they have to almost like pay like a retainer fee. Like, okay, for every month that you are exclusive with us, we will pay X amount, right? Or it might pay you throughout the relationship. You make more and more content. There might be different ways that they use it. Either you post it organically, it's like on your page, or they use it for paid ads. There's a lot of ways that could evolve. So I find that a lot of people don't realize how big this is, and that's why I work with different other content creators, helping them with growing their page, but also really kind of like how do you negotiate good deals with brands.
Right. Because it sounds like it's a serious business. Like, I'm sure there's contracts behind it. It's not like, just, hey, if you do this, I'll give you some freebies,
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about contracts. Like, what are the terms? Like, how long can they use your likeness, for example? Things like that. You definitely have to pay attention to, and a lot of people don't. Sometimes it might also make sense at some point for you to have like an agent or like an LLC for your business as well, insurance, stuff like that, because it is a business at the end of the day. That's what it is. So you have to treat it as such in order to be successful.
So any advice for people out there trying to grow their social media? Because I'm guessing this is mostly based on how famous you are, I guess, on social media, right? Like how many followers you have.
I would say, okay, yes and no, right? Obviously, there are people out there that are well known and like that they have a big following, and they could earn a lot of brand deals that way. I would say that's like only like a very small percentage of people out there are like that. I think I'll call those those are the true I guess influencers. I guess there was I would say there's also this other group, and sometimes can also be influencers, but I would say they're content creators. Anyone like small or big, they can create content, and a lot of brands, they like to work with like people that know what they're talking about, what they're doing, and they would rather work with them because they know how to create the content to their specifications, to their timelines. That is something that not everyone can do. So there's people that are, yes, followers could help, but a lot of people that are making money through this, they have let's say less than 10,000 or even less than 5,000 followers, but they're very good at what they do. They know they have this niche target audience, which the brand are looking for. And that is oftentimes more valuable than paying a bigger influencer or content creator that has a broader reach, but they may not hit the audience that they really want to hit. So kind of go back to the original question, like what some advice is. One is that it's never too early to start working with brands, but also if you really want to get into this, you also have to post. You have to be consistent with your posting. That's how you get better. It's okay to have some of these things like more followers, more likes. These kind of they're nice to have, but it's also think about the things that it can help you. Like as you're doing this, you're getting better at creating your content. You're getting faster at it. You're getting better at telling your story. And then the more content you put out there, the more chances that one of those pieces of content could become viral or be noticed by a brand, right? So a lot of times I find that people they're interested into it, but they don't want to put in the work in really building that skill set, because sometimes it will take time. Like some people are lucky that they'll start creating content and they get noticed right away. Some people they're posting 100, 200 videos or whatever, and only at that point where they get noticed. But it takes time, right, for some people.
Yeah, that's definitely me. Yeah. I do not take the time to make content every day or multiple times a week even. And we had Coach Connor Casey, who I'm sure you know of. Yes. He was saying that too, that basically he started growing when he committed to, I think he was posting a video a day, which is, I mean, to me, like that's insane. Like I'm
Yeah.
such an overthinker. To do a video a day, I would.
Yeah.
I mean, I would spend hours on each video.
Right.
I mean, I guess it depends on the length of the video and what the video is about. But yeah, I find that like so fascinating. And this must be mostly for Instagram, right? Like where you have to be like constantly
Oh,
growing. I guess that's where you get like the
yeah.
sponsorship.
I mean, yes, again, yes and no. Like for me personally, yeah, Instagram is my main thing, but other people definitely find success on YouTube, on TikTok. I also have an Amazon storefront. I also make a lot of commission from there. So it kind of depends on where your audience, like, where you're paying attention to. You can definitely like cross post to expand onto social media platforms. But each social media platform has a little bit different way of how you should be telling your story that to be really effective with reaching your audience. So it kind of depends. But yeah, like I mean, yeah, ideally, if I tell people, yeah, if you can post once a day, that's like that's a lot of people would say that's a good goal to try to aim for. But not everyone can do that, right? So I would say pick a posting schedule that works for you, that you feel like you can commit to. Like for me, and for instance, nowadays, like I mean, I have so many other things I'm also juggling with, so I post 3 times a week. That's my personal posting schedule. But if I could, I would post once a day. Yeah, and that'd be nice. Yeah. But I find that the people that grow it is the one that can stay consistent. It's also like training the algorithm that you're a content creator that's active, that you might more likely be pushed out to the audiences out there. So yeah, if you post inconsistently, that's where like it's like your posts are not getting pushed up to your audience. Like nowadays, like most of the time, it's like an algorithm for each social network platform. They're trying to determine what to push out there. So if you don't post consistently, that can hurt your chances of being shown to the world.
So how do you start a collaboration with a big company or with any company, I guess, as a content creator? Are you like constantly reaching out to these companies? Are they reaching out to you? Like, how does that work?
It's both ways, yeah. So inbound or outbound communications, as you start building an audience or you build like a history of work, brands will start finding you. They see either your posts, or if you join, there's like different websites that essentially are places where you can put your almost like your resume on there, and then brands will go there and look for content creators that would fit their campaign needs. So sometimes I oftentimes get a lot of inbound requests from those outside sources. But yeah, that's one way. But I'd say at the very beginning, you're probably going to do a lot more like outbound communication, where you are reaching out to brands through, let's say through Instagram, through like a dedicated email that they have, and basically essentially like kind of selling yourself as to why they should work with you. But yeah, there's a kind of combination of both.
I think a lot of people like will reach out to companies and never hear back. They probably like DM them or something and never hear back. Or, you get all these like random jewelry brands like in your inbox that want to like supposedly partner with you. You don't know if it's fake, if it's
mostly fake, probably.
Yeah. You're like, what the heck? Just delete. So if you're not in this, it's like, how do you even begin to figure this out?
Yeah.
So do you consult with people that are just getting started, or are you mostly working with people that already kind of have a business in it?
Okay. All your questions is like, I kept on saying a little bit of both, a little bit of like each one. So yes, there's a lot of people that are just like really starting to get into, they've been making content, but they haven't really worked with brands, or they didn't know how to take it to the next level of actually getting paid for the brand partnerships. Yeah. So I do help people out that reach out to me. And at one point last year, I was thinking about making more like make it more apparent that I offered as like kind of like the service or whatever. But I've been mostly doing it as people kind of reach out to me. I think it's like word of mouth. They hear, oh yeah, I'm someone that knows how to talk. I recognize what are the things that they could offer, the nuances with these brand partnerships. So people come to me. But then there's also a lot of like very surprising. Like I had several content creators that have a pretty decent following, and then like I'm talking to them one day. I'm just like, okay, blah blah blah. Oh, that's a good partnership you had there. Like, how much did they pay you? And they're like, oh, I got paid nothing. Like, what? Like, you should like earn like X amount. Like, so I started discovering that even a lot of bigger content creators don't necessarily know how to also make it treat it like a business where they can actually earn a real income from what they do, which they deserve for all their work. It's not that easy to make content, so they should definitely be paid for it. So,
yeah.
So
yeah.
So a lot of it is kind of that kind of like helping people with their mindset, and then also teaching them like, here are some things that you should look for, like things in your contract, things you can negotiate, You shouldn't just like give up everything on your end. You have a lot of power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people are just happy to probably get like a free racket or, you know, and they probably spend 6 hours working on a certain post. So
Right.
it's fascinating to me. But what inspires your content in particular? I mean, obviously tennis, but like you're so darn funny. How do you come up with all these ideas?
Yeah. What inspired me is just because I love tennis. So yeah, I just enjoy posting and just engaging with my tennis community. I mean, that's the main thing. And if all their stuff, like brand deals or whatever, like they're nice to have, but like at the end of the day, I think back, like, if I didn't like what I was doing, I wouldn't be doing this, right? So
Right.
things just kind of come up. I'm just watch something or reading something. Oh yeah, that's kind of funny. Or I should like make a post that kind of relates to this X, Y, and Z. So I might write it down on my phone just to remember. Okay, I'll come back to that next time. And it just kind of works like that. Like sometimes I get inspired by other like industries, like their trends, whatnot. I know like for a while, like again back in 2020, there wasn't as much like funny or relatable tennis content that was being posted on Instagram. And then I started like, I was on TikTok. I was okay, there's all these other groups of people are doing this stuff. Why can't tennis people do it as well? So I started kind of doing that from there. And nowadays there's a lot more on Instagram. So now you're kind of fighting this, like now more people are in this. They're doing a lot of, I guess, similar things. So how do you make yourself stand out from it? That's the next question now, right? So but at the end of the day, it's like, you should do it for yourself, right? I'm doing this for myself. I enjoy what I'm doing. Comparison is the death of joy. I think that's a phrase that I always hear. You can sure be motivated by other people, but don't let that take away from what you're doing. We're all something unique that we can bring to the world. So don't let.
I love that you said that coming from the Instagram world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I think that's one of the main things on Instagram is like you just go on there and it's so hard not to compare yourself to everything that you see, right? So I'm glad you mentioned that because I think that's a great point. I think for a lot of people, a lot of coaches at least that don't get online or are afraid to make a video, post it, it's more like how do I call it? It's like the cringe factor. Like they're afraid of looking stupid or being criticized, or you're just not used to looking at yourself in a camera, doing video, and like having hundreds, maybe thousands of people watching it and laughing and commenting. Like, how do you get over yourself?
Well, I kind of go back to one thing I said before. You have to get practice at it. You have to just kind of force yourself to post. Just like it doesn't have to be perfect, but try what you can and post it. And then learn from that. And over time, as you do it, like I said, you get more efficient at it. You start setting stuff up better. You set your lighting better. The way you edit is better. And over time, that will build confidence. Obviously, as more people start following your page and like commenting and whatnot and engaging with your content, that kind of obviously build confidence in what you're doing is good. But a lot of it, it is tough. Like it's tough to put yourself out there doing this. It's not everyone can do it. People say they want to do it, but it's not for everybody. There are some people that are also successful at creating content without necessarily always showing their face. Like you could do stuff where you don't necessarily show your face. You can do it like a first person point of view. You can do like carousel posts, mostly text based. There are some other ways that you can do it, but if you're not confident in showing your face, it is going to hinder your potential of being successful in social media.
Yeah. And are you at all worried about AI taking over?
Right now, I can see it being a problem for some creators. Yes, right now I see it more as a tool at this point. It's more of a way to enhance what you can do or make it more efficient. I might use AI to help bounce off some ideas for like a post. Like, okay, I have this idea, but I'm not quite sure how to phrase it. So I might go back and forth with AI, and then eventually they might come with something. Okay, I can kind of play around with that. Right? It's not quite there where it's like perfect. Like you can't like put something in AI and then pop out. Like, okay, I'm just going to use that. I mean, I guess you could do that, but if you're if you're generally like a savvy social media user, you can tell over time like what's AI and what's not. So at least at this point, at this point it's fine. But maybe who knows? Maybe it's like a year from now, I'll be like, oh my god, it's like you cannot even distinguish AI from Yeah,
I
from
think
that.
so.
So
I think it's going to get to a point where it's going to be so much more sophisticated that it
can't.
will be harder to see if it's
Right.
AI or not.
Right.
I use AI a lot
Mm.
for like my posts for the podcast and
Sure.
articles. Like I always kind of start with AI and then tweak it a lot.
Sure.
So I don't sound like a robot, right?
Sure.
And I can recognize when a lot of people, when I see a lot of stuff online, I like recognize, oh, that this is AI for sure. Like there's like certain little things that I recognize. So it's funny because the more you use it, the more you also recognize when other people are using it. And honestly, like everybody should be using it.
Right.
But what really freaked me out the other day, I saw this, I think it was like an ad online where it was like an avatar of you can like use your face for an avatar and then AI does like a video and it looks like you talking,
Yep.
but it's not actually you. It's just
Yep.
like using your image.
Right.
Which at the end of the day, if it's using your image, it is you. But it's just going to be really interesting to see where this whole thing goes. And as an influencer, I wonder like how that's going to affect influencers, because like a company could just use these avatars that look like real people. But I don't know, I think people will eventually be able to tell like if it's a real human, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Again, going on talking about this topic, but I'd say right now, for at least as it currently stands, that's why it's very important for you to be authentic, and people will recognize that you're authentic, and they want to follow you for you, and what your thoughts are, how you do things. Is really important to establish that with your community, so that it makes you stand out from just anyone that can use AI to do something. But,
yes.
yeah.
And like embrace your little quirks, right? Because I think that's not going to be, I don't think AI will be able to pick that up, right?
Right. Yeah. Who knows? Yeah. But but it's interesting. Definitely. I mean, I've been following along, but as right now, I use it more for just kind of helping make my life easier in certain aspect, but it can't replace it for now. I'll get it for now.
Yeah. So for you, was there a certain thing, because you've been able to grow your social media so much, was there a certain thing that like really made a difference for you personally? Like, was it a certain video that you made that went viral? Was it just the consistency, just for you in particular?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say relative to like some other people that I've known that are popular content creators nowadays, like I was probably more of a slow growing account. I think what happened also kind of hurt me too is that I was doing tennis all the time. I changed the way I post, like things I was posting. Like at the beginning, I was posting more like static photos of me, like at tennis events or whatever. And then like I started posting like videos, like more like professional tennis recordings that I took at different events. So I was doing that for a while. I took a long break at one point, like a year break, and then came back. And then I started doing more what I'm doing right now. So I would say just consistency, engaging with the community, talking with different people, and that helped me a lot. Just being connected with those folks, and as I start doing more brand deals, obviously that helped like spotlight me to new audiences when the brand shares something that features me. Like Wilson, for example, that probably helped me out a lot, I would say, the Wilson partnership initially. Hence why I have all these Wilson brackets here too. But that was a big one right there. So yeah, I think Wilson was a pretty big one. That's probably one that kind of pushed me up initially. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. And then, okay, let's switch gears a little bit and we can come back to the online stuff, but let's talk a little bit more at tennis. What has been something in your career? I mean, you said you've been coaching for a while, and I was talking to you just offline just now, and you're teaching a little bit now, mostly with private clients. What's a challenge that you have faced in your career as a coach to grow as a coach?
The first thought I had was just kind of belief in myself that I am a good coach, right? So like that's probably the initial challenge. So for me, just for some background, I would say I'm more like a recreational level player. I'm a 4.0 level player, but during my time at USTA, I spent a lot of time working specifically with kids and more beginner to maybe intermediate level players. And there was a lot, I've been beginning to have more to believe that I am able to offer them something that's helpful for them. And I can do it in a way that even like maybe more highly technical skilled coaches can't, because like it is a little bit different. It's different teaching like let's say a 6-year-old or like a group class. That not every coach can be successful at doing that. So I would say kind of just having that belief in that, this is something that helps make me stand out. That I am actually a pretty good working and talking with this audience that actually makes up a large proportion of the tennis population in the country. So that kind of made me realize, okay, yes, I have a place in the coaching world. Like a lot of times, especially online in particular, you see a lot of the higher performing coaches and players, but they said there's a huge audience of tennis players that are not at that level, but they still want to learn, and there's something I can offer.
That's why you also got to get out of the online world and into the real world. Because online, like you said, it's all like high performance technique. And there's also like a lot of criticism amongst coaches. It's like, somebody will post something and you look at the comment section and it's a whole discussion of like whether what he's saying or she's saying is right or wrong and why it's stupid to believe that. And, it can get crazy online. Right. But you go out into the real world. And as long as I believe that as long as you're passionate about tennis, as long as you're a caring person, and you're like really passionate about it, you can absolutely serve so many people, grow tennis, and like make a career out of it. Right. So I think that that's so important. It's to not just focus on the high performance side. And guess what? The majority of tennis players are recreational players. And that's where we need the most coaches. And working with kids, like not everybody can work with kids.
Absolutely.
And a lot of like high performance coaches, right? Quote unquote, because like, what does that even mean, high performance, right? But like competitive level, I guess.
Sure.
Coaches, they don't necessarily have the interest or the personality, not always, but
right. Exactly.
They work with like little kids.
That's yes. I kind of sure. Actually, when I was working at USTA, at one point I was helping with youth tennis programs at schools, like after school programs, where the audience was they're new. Most of the time they were like new to the sport and whatnot, and we're always looking for coaches. And initially at the beginning we were like, we need to find like a certified coach or someone that has a lot of tennis experience. Over time, I found like the more successful coaches that we have for this program were people that are just good with kids, that can manage kids well, and then we can kind of teach them some of the basic tennis skills. But those coaches were better. So, like for example, PE teachers, they were amazing at being coaches for these programs because they already have that kind of some sports background, so it was relatively easy to teach them a lot of basic tennis skills. But we can't necessarily teach them like their management skills. I mean, we probably some teaching them that, but they already have that skill set already. That's much more effective for us to run that program than finding like a more certified coach that they're usually more used to having like a smaller group of students, or the way they talk is a little different. They're more technical in how they speak versus being actually saying things in a way that kids understood. Yeah. So yes. So there's a place for many different type of coaches out there. Yeah.
And I think that too is why, and we can't help but talk pickleball, right? But like that's why pickleball has gone viral, right? Because it's not that there's like these amazing technical pickleball coaches out there growing the game, right? It's just people that really love playing it, and they bring people in and they teach them, they give them a paddle, like, here, let's go play. They'll bring like a big group and teach them how to play. Like that's like hugely missing in tennis, by the way. But I think that's like how pickleball has grown so big. It's a big part of it.
I agree. That was the way that they grew in. And it's unfair. Like actually in tennis world, there are people that are doing exactly that as well. It's just not, there hasn't been much attention to them, what they do. There's also some other factors. But like when I was working at USTA, I was mostly working with grassroots tennis community groups that are doing exactly that. They go out there to the local parks and they bring people in at like low cost or no cost to grow the game. And that was a space I always lived in, was that grassroots level of just bringing more people into the sport. So hopefully, like I feel like that's going to get better in the tennis world now that pickleball has come in. I think the tennis world also have to recognize that they need to get better at that communication. Really, I think that part of the key. There's a lot of things that can happen, but tennis can still have a lot of potential to grow just as much as pickleball.
Oh, for sure. That's just so important to have those like really passionate people that will bring in players that will work with beginners. I think working with beginners, it's not something that you necessarily know how to do when you come from like a high competitive background. It's something that you learn how to do. Obviously, you can learn it. Yeah. It's a matter of like taking the time and doing that. So, no, I'm really glad that you brought that up because I feel like a lot of times that holds back people from getting into coaching is that they think like, oh, I didn't play college tennis, or like you were saying, oh, I'm a 4-0 player. Like, I don't know if I can coach. I don't know if I can do that. So I would highly encourage people 4-0, 4-5, whatever. If you have an interest in coaching tennis, go out there and do it.
Sometimes like it's just for extra resources for the people that are interested in doing it. Definitely reach out to your local USTA section or district. A lot of times they offer either free or low cost coaches training workshops that you can participate in, and they can also connect you with the groups I mentioned before, the local community tennis associations that are doing stuff in the parks and rec space. Maybe you initially start off as being an assistant for a program, and then from there you can go become the head coach and whatnot. But there's a lot of opportunities out there actually for that if you really are interested and have the time to provide us back to the tennis community.
Yeah. So I was actually surprised to see that you are a psychology major. I would have thought you were a marketing major.
Yeah.
Because I think you're like that. I mean, that's what you do basically. And I've asked this to some of our guests, but how, from your marketing point of view, how do you think that we can better market tennis today?
I guess, again, first thought I had was just, I think some companies have picked up on this too, but yeah, like just recognize that, yes, a large proportion of the tennis community are the recreational space players. So how do you market to them? Like I say, one example would be like Wilson. Like I think they did a great job with marketing the Clash racket, which is like their most popular racket for recreation level. Because yeah, it's a good racket for a wide range of players, including myself, right? So I thought they were very smart. And then of course, kind of figure out where do these, like how do you get the word out to these tennis players or these potential tennis players? And that's where like this, go back to the social media side, like there's a lot of potential there. It's like, I think there are some brands that do a better job in their social media marketing than others. But like, yeah, I think that's a great way to reach a large, wide audience that could possibly they can work with. And part of the strategy there is working with like content creators or influencers that could help them tell a story, right? So yeah. So I mean, I guess selfish, I would say, because I'm a content creator, but I would say, having them work with more content creators that have an audience, that's a good way to really expand their marketing appeal.
Were you always a Wilson guy?
Yeah, I was actually. I started off with the Hyper Hammer back in.
I did use that racket at one point.
I like it because it was blue. I think that's why. I think it was a blue and black racket I had. But yeah, and then I just stayed with Wilson the entire time. And I like it. I like the feel. I tried other rackets, like other brands before, and they're all right. But I've always liked the way that Wilson feels.
And you still use the Clash?
Definitely, yeah. I still use the Clash. I just got the V3. I need to play with it more. I just got it this month, but it's been like snowy and below freezing like this whole month, so I haven't had a chance to really play with it yet. But no, I still love the Clash. It's a great racket.
Do you get to demo like the other rackets?
Yeah, and I have a different relationship with Wilson. They would send like their latest like Blade or Ultra racket, and I definitely demoed them. And I think they're all good rackets for different type of people. I just find that the Clash has been the one that fits my needs. I'll probably say afterward probably be like the Pro Staff. Like that's what I used to use the Pro Staff before I went to Clash. But I'm getting older now, so I kind of like the Clash forgiveness.
The Pro Staff is like the true player. That's like, I feel like, is a heavy, stiff racket. And if you've been playing tennis competitively for the last couple decades, that's probably what you're going to like.
Right.
And the Blade.
That Blade is very popular too, for sure. So, it also makes a good lineup.
So to me, it's interesting because I grew up playing with Wilson and Prince. And then when I started teaching, I switched to Babolat because they basically offer me a bunch of free stuff. Mm-hmm. And I switched to Babolat. And then I never switched back. Like I really like my Pure Drive. But I run a pro shop at my store. in a club in Massachusetts, and I carry Bob a lot and I carry Wilson. And before I got there, the director there, he sold only Wilson stuff, I think. So like the membership's used to Wilson. The Blade is like our number one seller. Clash, not so much for some reason, but yeah. I don't know. It's interesting to see what people like. I'm always fascinated because a lot of times like the rackets feel very similar to me. And a lot of times, like if you just change the tension or the strings, it's like, it's like, it's
right.
really difficult.
I would also kind of say like, I feel like without any like scientific basis for this, I feel like for a lot of like recreational level players, it's kind of like that. Most people, they don't really tell the difference in rackets, like the different brands or the strings and whatnot. I think they just kind of get used to the racket that they have, and then that's it. So I would say like I think it's only the higher levels when we start noticing that the little differences here and there. I think for most people, they're probably okay with like a general recommendation, you should have like 100 square inch racket, for example, or like you should use a headlight racket or whatever. Or
they'll use what the coach tells them would be probably a good fit for them, right?
Yeah. Now, with that said, I'm also a stringer. I would recommend over time, if you do play a lot of tennis, you should at least know like what strings you have in your racket and the tension that you generally prefer, because a lot of people don't know that. Even like higher level players, they just don't know. But that can also be helpful for you to improve your game.
For sure. I can adjust to a different racket much more easily than I can adjust to a lower tension. I can, you give me a heavier racket, I'll get used to it. You give me a lighter racket, whatever, I'll figure it out. Like it'll take me some shots to kind of like tune it in. But like the string tension, like I like my strings really tight. And if I go low, I will go crazy.
What string type? Like a multi-filament versus like a poly string?
A poly, yeah.
I'm just curious, like if you like switch to a multi-filament string or synthetic gut, how that affects your feel for that racket.
That too, the different type of string also makes a big difference.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, I find that interesting because people put so much emphasis on the racket, and to me, it's like, but what's the string tension?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So both are important. At the end of the day, both are important.
Yeah. Now, besides anything else that we have mentioned today, are there any other changes that you would love to see happen in the tennis industry?
There's more awareness that there is different coaching opportunities out there. That it's not always about the highest performance coaching, which is great. But yes, it's just kind of getting the word out there that there's more opportunities for people that are trying to get into coaching, that you don't have to be at the highest level technically to still be successful. I think there could be some more ways that can get the word out. And UST has done some good job of putting the message out there, but I feel like there's still a lot that can be done. And I remember when I was working at UST, that was one of the things I always try to do in the community, was making people aware that all these different opportunities existed. So it's kind of, I think I go back to this marketing of these opportunities out there.
Yeah. And what has been your favorite video that you have made?
My favorite video that I made? Oh my God, I don't know.
First of all, how many videos do you have? You have like, I don't know, over 1,000 maybe.
I mean, let's look it up. I mean, I definitely made a lot of, like, I think I checked it, like, just I was like, oh yeah, it's like I made this many this much content. I don't even see it on Instagram. Okay, so I have 2,334 posts on Instagram. They're not all videos, but yeah, I've done a lot. I don't know, it's hard to say my favorite. I would say like I always like the creative videos that I make. They don't always have like the highest views or whatnot, but I always like, that was always the thing that kind of was I like the challenge in making like different kind of creative like transitions or just different things that you can do in video that just you don't normally see. So I would say that I'm most proud of those, because it kind of shows, like 2 years ago I had no idea how to do this. I know how to transition this way, or have two of me talking at the same time in the same video, whatever. So making those videos are the ones that kind of give me the most joy of making. I think they're just fun to make.
It shows more your creativity and uniqueness.
Yeah, kind of make them stand a little bit more. I like some of the other stuff too, obviously, but I think that kind of stands out a bit more, because I don't think as many tennis content creators out there can do that stuff. So I just kind of like, okay, that kind of makes me stand out just a little bit more. So that also kind of helps me with like working with brands. Like I can say, hey, I can do this thing that you may not be able to find in another tennis content creator out there. So.
Yeah. And give a shout out to another fellow content creator. Who's someone that you like and like to follow and like their content?
Oh man, there's a lot out there.
There's a lot, yeah.
The first people that kind of pop up are just a lot of people are either ones that I've worked with this past year, or actually we've done some trips together even at these different events. One is obviously Tennis with Dylan, who's a big account out there. I think he has 600,000 followers now. He's like traveling the world doing his thing. Tennis with Dylan. He's such a great guy, a nice guy, and he knows what he's talking about too. He's a very skilled coach, and he's the one like he posts every day, like at least once a day. It's amazing how he can keep that up. So I would say like he's one that okay, he's a really good one out there. Eliza West checks out college herself too. She's also really good. Seen her grow a lot this past year. And it's been amazing. Again, it's her consistency, but she also provides this unique voice that the tennis world didn't really have. So that's been great. The Tennis Fox is another person that kind of popped up, where like her and I were doing some similar content in sort of like relatability.
It's hilarious. Right? I follow her. Yeah.
Yeah, but she's also smart. That's the thing. She's actually very business minded as well. And so her and I oftentimes will go back and we'll chat and talk about different things, like different ideas or different ways to approach a brand. So like she's been a good friend to have in the tennis community. So.
How about an up and comer? Give me an up and comer.
An up and comer. There's a few of those that are like that. Oh man, I mean I need to look up now. Like they're good. I've seen the people that have been serving great content. And it's like they're not yet quite as consistent as they should be. So like they're not. Yeah, they're not consistent, but they have some good content out there.
Like more like the educational ones, the funny ones. What's your preference?
I'll give you one. Like a shout out to Coach B TV. So if you get a chance to follow him, Coach B TV, he is hilarious. He's a great character, but he knows his stuff too. So I like his unique storytelling. Like right now, he's doing like every day. I think he's doing a recap of the Australian Open. But he's like hilarious in the way he recaps it, the way he edits his video. He's a very funny guy. So I just like the way he tells story. I think he should be a much bigger account from there for the thing he does. So not everyone's like can do the thing he does, you know. So
Coach B TV.
Coach B TV. Yes.
All right.
Yes. That's the first person that pops up. I feel like there's more. I'm blanking out a little bit, but he's the first one that kind of popped up. Like yeah, he's doing the right thing. Like he's posting pretty regularly. He has unique content, and I think more people should follow him.
Well, good luck to him. I'll have to check him out. I don't think I follow him yet, so I'll definitely look him up. And then one last question. What has been the grand slam and the double bagel moment of your career so far?
Most recently at the US Open, I got a chance to go to a private meeting. I got a private group meeting with Federer at the Wilson.
Oh, I saw that. That's fabulous.
That was pretty neat because that was a surprise that I got there, and it was just a tremendous experience there. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of highlights. I would say, like, I mean, that obviously there's, not being on a national committee for USTA, just like serving the tennis community when I was a USTA staff for 13 years. That's always a wonderful privilege that I got to have. I mean, it was a low, like a double bagel moment in the tennis.
Double bagel moment. I don't know. Maybe someone's comment sometime or a video that flopped. I don't know, whatever you want to share.
That one moment I took a year break from posting, I guess, where I was just not motivated. I think a lot of things were changing in social media world. I was like, I wasn't, I just didn't put much time into it. That was probably that was one of the low lights, I guess. But then I got back into it over time. But I think I was dealing with a lot of other things that were also distracting me at the time, so that didn't help. But at the end of the day, tennis is a thing that really makes me happy and brings a lot of joy. So I'm glad I got back into it, and it just makes my life a lot better being in the tennis world. So. And
when was that? When did you take a break?
When was that? Was it May 21? No, before that. I think it was 2018, 2019, maybe around. It was right before a pandemic time frame, I think. That was.
Oh, okay. So you've been pretty active since like 2020.
Yeah, fairly active since 2020 for sure, and. I can't believe it's like 2025, but yeah, I've been fairly active since then.
Do negative comments ever get to you?
Funny enough, I don't get too many negative comments on my page. Funny enough, and then the ones that I mean, of course, like when you get like a more viral video, you bring in more people that aren't, I say, part of your tennis community. That come in like, oh, you might say this and that. You know, there's some ones that are more obviously trolls. I mean, they don't really bother me. They're ones that they have they wrote something, but there's a reason why. I go back to like this is someone that actually, you know, like a kind of example. Like maybe I did a post on a recent brand, for example, and then someone posts a comment saying, oh, they don't like the way they do X, Y, and Z or something. You know, I still appreciate that they took the time to share their thoughts, and
Right.
and I can understand where they're coming from. A lot of times, if they have a certain, they just don't like the color or how they're, you know, the way that this brand is doing this X, Y, and Z. But I just kind of take it as these are still humans. They're people that, so that doesn't really bother me. It's like, yeah, at the end they're just kind of sharing their thoughts. They're engaging. That's fine. So I'll say it doesn't really bother me for most part. Now, with that said, I am also a guy doing content creation. I do know like a lot of like women content creators that would have a different take on that. They do get a lot more crazy like DMs and comments, and yeah, that's unfortunate. But I know a few of my friends that have to deal with a lot more than I have to deal with. So.
Yeah, I think it can definitely be tough to deal. I haven't either. I mean, I don't post that much and my account is not big at all, but I haven't had to deal with that. But I can't imagine like getting trolled online. That's got to be tough no matter what. I don't care how tough you are. That's going to be a tough situation.
I say go back to reframing it. Like if you're starting to get trolls, like, hey, you made it. Now you're big enough that you have trolls that people actually care about.
Exactly.
Right? So I always
talking about me one way or another.
I try to reframe it and like, hey, that's the end of the day, like also engaging your content. So like, hey, okay, we'll take that.
Helping you.
Yeah. So you know, again, I also understand it's social media. Like a lot of people say a lot of things, and you can always. It does help you to kind of disconnect sometimes, or like just don't take it as seriously. If they don't really know you, like people that are really saying bad comments, just just block and then move on. Essentially,
exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Alex. I really appreciate it, and I will make sure to tag you on all the things when this comes out.
Sounds good. No, thank you again for having me, and it was a great chat.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you all for listening. Remember, you can visit vidatennispodcast.com for all things Vida Tennis, and if you would like to contact me directly, you can do so at vidatennispodcast@gmail.com. See you next time.